Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a very interesting discussion today with regard to FMS, and I'm thinking out loud to begin with about what my thought process had been before listening to all three of you about what I thought were challenges for foreign military sales. And my first assumption had been that on a policy basis, we had been using FMS more as an opportunity to incentivize some of our near allies or individual countries that were out there that wanted our weapon systems to perhaps change policies that we did not like, that were separate from what our policies were. But after listening to you, I'm finding that it's not even so much that as being the primary reason why we're not having more military sales, but rather internally, our system is not set up and focused on the value of FMS to our own well-being. Mr. Webster, I just want to begin by asking you a question. Do you have any data with regard to U.S. companies that are in the military and industrial base portion of our economy, and how much they may have lost in terms of opportunities for sales outside? What's been our loss, do you think, in terms of opportunities that we haven't been able to take advantage of?
Well, I do not have data specific to opportunities lost. I can share that for our prime contractors, on average, 70% of their funding comes from this body here, and 30% on average, it's a very crude average, but 30% comes from international sales. The European Union and NATO in Europe, on average annually, 60% of their military acquisitions are with our companies. We expect, if onshoring in Europe is where they decide to go and they actually find the money to onshore some production, that 60% annual number will diminish a bit. That's assuming that they actually secure the money and pour concrete and start onshoring production. But right now, just as a data point, 60% of European acquisitions of defense material from our contractors.
I had also assumed that perhaps the major issue that many of our contractors had, I mean, looking back at the delays it takes right now to get our own munitions, that it was a supply chain issue as much as anything else. And I'm just simply going to ask all of you, if you were to prioritize supply chain versus other one or two items in a quick nutshell, where does supply chain issues stand in terms of the delays that we've got? And I'd begin with Dr. Greenwalt.
I think the most important issue is decision time and certainty of decision. That's up there. Supply chain will be, companies will make decisions about supply chain if there are certainties of decisions and countries know what they're going to be able to buy.
Mr. Webster?
Yes, so the supply chain criticality is huge. We have been operating for decades in a peacetime mode. Now we're trying to ramp up to a wartime mode. It's going to take a lot of deliberate analysis and funding and attention to the second and third tier suppliers, some as small as 18 people that have been in business for 30 years doing one thing exquisitely, and they're not prepared to pour concrete to double production of that critical component for precision fires unless we take attention to the matter and help them get there.
I'm going to come back to you on another question in a minute, but Dr. Saum-Manning, would you care to respond to that as well?
So I'm going to have my answers a little bit of a pun because we did try to study that and we relied heavily on DSCA and their data to be able to kind of inform our analysis. And they struggled to get this data beyond their own, what's in their own remit. It's very difficult to get information on the supply chain, for example. So one of our recommendations, again, and I go back to this, is the idea of having a data czar that's able to go in and access this kind of information so they can understand where these choke points truly lie.
Thank you. Mr. Webster, looking at FMS, would mandating that FMS demand be factored into the total munitions requirement, would that improve the management of weapons production at DoD?
The challenge with international sales, whether accomplished via foreign military sales, government to government, or direct commercial sales, industry to a foreign government, the challenge is trying to understand and predict when a nation will actually sign a contract or sign an agreement. So there's a lot of uncertainty there, unlike appropriations or program authorization appropriations here in the United States.
Thank you.
So fundamentally, it's helpful, but it is unpredictable.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.